is Brandon White, and this is a brief discussion about shock. Today, I'll be discussing the different stages of shock. I'll be discussing the different components of shock, and I'll also briefly describe some different aspects of shock. Today, I'll be describing the definition of shock first and foremost. Shock. What is shock? Shock, or it can be called a lack of homeostasis, or also can be called hyperperfusion, as it is sometimes called hyperperfusion. Shock refers to a state of collapse and failure of the cardiovascular or the circulatory system in the human body. In, in reference to perfusion or perfusion, a lack of perfusion, without perfusion, cells in the body will eventually die or become constricted due to the lack of nutrients which it needs. As a result, hyperperfusion occurs. When there's hyperperfusion, the tissue cells of the body are not met with adequate amounts of fluid in which it needs. The blood contains oxygen-rich nutrients. Without these oxygen-rich nutrients, metabolism cannot take place. And without proper perfusion or with a lack of homeostasis, metabolic waste there will be and gaseous exchange will not take place. Hence, as a result, shock. The circulatory system consists of three main components, which is the heart, which is called referred to as the pump, the vessels, which is called the blood vessels, and the fluid, which is called the blood. If there's anything wrong with any of these, which is a minority or major, it will result in hyperperfusion, and hence you have a state or system which in the human body which is called shock. Remember, shock is a complete or systematic failure of the circulatory system, which inherently causes an inadequate tissue perfusion, resulting in hyperperfusion. Shock. There are three different stages of shock. There is a compensatory stage, decompensatory stage, and you have the reversible stage. Compensatory states are also called non-progressive stage, which means non-progressive in layman terms, there's something you can do about it. In the compensatory stage, you can actually reverse the condition of shock. This is the earliest sign of shock. The patient may present with signs and symptoms of agitation, anxiety, tachycardia, tachypnea, um, agitation, restlessness, such and so forth. In the decompensatory stage, the person will be may or may not be lethargic. Rapid respiration, shallow respirations, and labored breathing. Also, the person will exhibit signs of, I'm sorry, the person will exhibit signs of cold, not cold, cold, pale skin, or sometimes molted skin, which can be called, it would be anything further from flush because the body, what it's doing is basically it's not being able to hold due to the compensatory mechanism which is taking place. So let's go into the compensatory stage. This is where the sympathetic nervous system takes over. As a result, blood is being withdrawn from not its over what the body is called organs or places in which the body can do without to places in which the body can't do without. In simpler terms, what the body is doing is shunting blood away from different organs which can do without blood for a longer period of time and rerouting it to places in which can do without blood for only a certain period of time. For example, the brain, for example, the liver, for example, the kidney. Those very vital organs can do without blood for only a limited amount of time, while the skin, which is the largest organ in the body, can do without blood for quite a amount of time. Hence the reason why you see someone with shock, you'll have them see pale, cool, clammy skin. Because what is happening, there's the body's defense mechanism, which is ruled by the sympathetic nervous system, is shunting blood away from the skin and other non-vital organs to bring the blood to, or the nutrient to, the vital organs. Hence, this will come to the stage of what is called irreversible shock. As the name suggests, irreversible. Unfortunately, no one would like to see the patient deteriorate to this stage. Unfortunately, within this stage, as we can say that it's already too late, there's no amount of medical intervention which will help this patient at any given time, as it is already too late. Blood has been shunted out from vital organs for too long, and now irreversible damage have occurred. And even for some strange reason, if the patient is able to be resuscitated after that, it still will not make any difference as the vital organs will be able to function properly. Now, for the different components of shock. You have cardiogenic shock, you have obstructive shock, and then you have distributive shock. Also, before I forget, you also have hypovolemic shock. So let's start with hypovolemic shock. What is hypovolemic shock? Hypovolemic shock presents itself, or you can say the definition of hypovolemic shock is an injury due to severe burns, severe vomiting, or a severe blood loss. The blood loss can be due to blunt force trauma, internal bleeding, etc. You name it. Hypovolemic, as the name suggests, is hypovolume, which means a lack of blood flow. And if there's a lack of blood flow, there's a lack of oxygenated blood. If there's a lack of oxygenated blood, there's a lack of nutrients being delivered. Hence, hyperperfusion take place. Distributive shock, as the name suggests, distributive. There's a distribution problem, something along in the blood vessels. There's some form of distributive problem. What may happen is that the capillary sphincters are supposed to be constricted. If there's a lack of constriction due to vasodilation, what will happen is that the blood will settle or fall to the bottom of the vessel. And with little to no constriction, even when there's constriction taking place, there will not be any distribution of blood. Hence, some examples of this is anaphylactic shock, neurogenic shock, etc. Psychogenic shock, if you may. Also, my final definition for the day, cardiogenic shock. When you think about cardiogenic related illnesses, what does come to mind? Yes, the heart. The heart, which is the main pump of the human, which is the pump of the human body, is responsible for pumping blood to the vital organs of the human body. Without that, there will be no form of distribution. Everything ceases, everything stops. Cardiogenic shock is a result of a myocardial damage to the tissue of the heart. The heart is a hollow muscular organ. Its main function is to pump blood. If there's any form of myocardial or death of the muscular tissue, the heart will not be able to pump blood efficiently. Hence, as a result, you have cardiogenic shock, which can be, or one can say, which can present itself as a form of atrial fibrillation, atrial tachycardia. I am sorry. Also, cardiac arrest, etc. That is my brief discussion about shock. Hopefully, it is tailored to your liking. It is tailored so that you can be informed. Hopefully, I did a good job. Thank you very much for your time. Have a good day.